Nice that everyone is actually here, and very, very timely. We will be recording this, so hopefully you're all comfortable with that. We wanted to make sure that we were recording that so it's available to anyone else who's not able to attend. But firstly, my name is John Mesger. I work with Business South, and Lauren James is the sustainability lead with Business New Zealand. We would also like to thank the team from Enterprise Dunedin. So we have Penny, Louise, and Suzanne that are going to be joining us. Nice to see the Otago Museum. Welcome. And today we're just going to be starting with this is the first event of the Sustainable series, the What and the Why. We'll spend about a half hour with Lauren going through the What's and the Whys, and then another half hour or so just chatting about we're getting feedback from you on how the issues and problems that you're facing in the sustainability space, and how we can structure the remainder of the series to help you along your journeys. So, Lauren, are you happy to pass over and we'll get things started?
Sure, absolutely. And I just realized you guys won't have the same view as me. So there's your view of those who contributed to the poll. So, kia ora tātou. My name is Lauren, as John said. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning and take you through an intro to sustainability, what it is and why it's important. But the thing is, it does, as you'll be aware already, mean many different things to different people. And a huge part of today is hearing from you what it means to you, but also what your challenges and needs are in this space, so that we can make sure that part 2 and 3 of this series resonate, land, and importantly, help you on your journey. So I'm just going to share my screen. We do have quite a bit to cover, so in this first part. So I hope you're buckled up and ready for this. And as John says, thank you to Enterprise Dunedin for helping put this on. Okay, so as John said, we're going to cover what sustainability is, why it's important, what your needs are. So to start with, I just want you to, hopefully you're familiar with QR codes. If you're not, it's very simple. Just use your phone. It's the only thing you're allowed to do with your phone while we're in session, is pointed at the QR code, like, I don't know if you can see, like this, as though you're going to take a photo of it. And then you'll see a little thing comes up, like a yellow thing or something that tells you, can you see it, or do I need to get you guys out of the way? That tells you to enter a screen. And then I just want you to enter a few words on what sustainability means to you or why it's important. So just checking that you guys can, if I move these away, you guys can see, access, click on this QR code. Yeah, cool. Got a thumbs up. That's good. It's better than expected. And perhaps if you are not making it in so easily, as a plan B, you can always enter your 2 cents worth in the chat box, which is another way we can connect.
I think Business South looked after the registrations. I'm not 100 on that, sorry. It is being recorded, so they can watch it at a later date if they don't get in.
Okay, so I'm just going to take us to the screen quickly. Nice. So you'll see all your results. They've arrived. This is where they've gone. So got a few thoughts. If you're still entering, keep going. But as you'll tell today, the conversation is going to keep going. So you've got a range of answers. long-term, got words, planet, business, environment, like words, improving. Thank you around overwhelming, absolutely. Crucial, challenging. Yeah, that's where some of my grey hairs have come from, maybe all of them. And what else have we had? Saving for the future, good business. Nice. I'll let people keep inputting to that, and I'll make sure I take a photo and share back what any further responses that come through. I'm just going to keep us moving on our journey this morning. So that's just a bit of a taste of what sustainability is. A few questions to also ground the session, and then I'll share some things with you. So wanted to take us through a bit of a quick quiz. So feel free to all come off mute, and then I guess you can kind of shout out your responses if that works for you. So in terms of carbon and climate, by what year does New Zealand have a target of net zero carbon emissions by?
2050?
Yep, nice. Anyone want to get a share? Let's just say a couple of sustainable practices that consumers value. So just pick a couple of things that come to mind when you see these pictures.
Recycling, renewable energy, clean energy.
Yeah, recycling, clean energy. What about
circular economy?
Yeah,
Perhaps.
Anything in these bottom two, possibly a bit more cryptic?
Oh, this is something about culture, eh?
I'll work through to, these are the answers, but everything everyone has said is definitely valid. So everything from waste reduction to reducing carbon, respecting human rights, ethical working, and more. What about where it all started? So when New Zealand was first, well, before humans arrived in New Zealand, how much forest cover do you think there was?
I may have called more than 90%.
Close. It's about 80, according to people who know these things. This one's a little bit tricky, but kind of a good way of thinking about things. So if we think of the whole history of Earth and we took it and condensed into 24 hours, how long do you think humans have been around of that 24-hour time frame?
Less than a minute.
Definitely less than a minute. Anyone want to guess the seconds? Is it more than 30?
I just put the last second, if that's maybe.
Yeah, pretty close. It's about a few seconds. So we're a blip in time, but we've definitely made our presence felt. Let's just do, by what year do you think there'd be more plastic in the ocean by weight than fish if we carried on doing what we're doing? We've had this year already, so you can also recycle it. So that one's a 2051, which you'll be, as in 2050, which you'll be relieved about, hopefully. Some people think it's sooner than that. And any takers for the second one, maybe just taking it broader than plastics. Let's say non-recycled materials make up sort of about what proportion of New Zealand's landfills?
80? Not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 3/4. Nice. Okay, I think we've got 2 more questions left. This one's around what proportion of Māori children live in homes that have less than half the median income before housing costs?
Three-quarters?
It's about 17%. So, yeah. Oh, hang on, we've got someone just arriving. I'll just welcome Leon. And I believe it's the last question. Hang on, if it will let me show. So often we think of climate as a scientific kind of challenge, but it very much affects people and particularly children. So do we think that it's true or false that 1-year-olds born in 2020 in New Zealand will face up to 5 times as many climate-induced disasters than their grandparents?
Sounds like true.
What do we think? that is true. So that was just a bit of a warm-up to sustainability, what it is, getting some views from you, getting some provocative kind of questions around the subject. I'm just checking the chat box. I've got some people chatting in the chat box. Can someone be the chat monitor if there is a particular question and interrupt me if there's someone who's shy or wanting to type a question? So from a definition perspective, I'm going to take you through a few definitions of what is sustainability, why it's important, and we're going to go from a global perspective to New Zealand to a southern perspective, acknowledging that you guys are all sitting in the south at the moment. So from a pure definition perspective, the UN Brundtland definition is that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So meeting the needs of today while ensuring that future needs are able to be met as well. Do we think that everyone has their needs met today across the board?
No, I wouldn't thought so.
No, so we've got a challenge because our baseline isn't even complete from an equality perspective already. What about, who's heard of people, planet, profit, or triple bottom line, or concepts like that?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a classic depiction of sustainability. It's saying that we need to give equal value to, as I said, people, planet, or profit, or you can see different words, economy, environment, society here. And the idea is that, hopefully you can see my mouse, that this circle in the center where everything overlaps is that sustainable development. This is sustainability, where we give equal value and weighting to these things and we make decisions accordingly. Sometimes you get a fourth bubble in this, which is culture. And yeah, in terms of how things are today, do you think we have these kind of bubbles in our world today? These sized ones?
I think it depends on the many different businesses or economies, and perhaps in some more so than others.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of the answers for sustainability is it depends. You could just put one slide saying it depends. That would get me off the hook. Yes, you're right. I think people often say that the economy does have a bit more of a bigger bubble generally in how things are configured today, but that is changing. What do you think these are, and why do you think I've got these in this presentation?
Carbon footprint.
Footprints. They are footprints. Any idea what they mean?
I said carbon footprint.
Yeah, carbon footprint's definitely one. I mean, we're going to be measuring our emissions in the next session together. You might also have heard of ecological footprint. I guess the long and the short of the concept, it comes into play with these two questions. So if you think of how many planets we're living on, answer to that is just
one,
right? Yeah, thank you. Yet how many planets worth of resources are we consuming on average? So sorry, did someone say 4?
More than one.
Yeah, more than one. So definitely more than one. It obviously varies depending where you are in the world and how much you use. And but it's about 1.7 on average. That's obviously held back quite a lot by the have-nots, but obviously that can be a lot greater in some contexts. So we've only got the one planet, but we're using almost 2 planets worth. And another way of conceptualizing this is that in about July is Earth Overshoot Day of the year. And that's when we've used up all the Earth's resources for the year. And after that, we're going into what's called overshoot. So if you went to, pay for your coffee this morning and your card declined and you realized that in all your accounts, you're in the red, or you had no money to pay your mortgage, rent, bills, everything, you're probably going to get into gear, maybe look for another job, negotiate your pay, look at loans, change living environment. You're going to do a lot of things to change your situation quite quickly, right? Basically, you're going to hustle. Do you think from the deep perspective that we're in, that I've just described, that we're hustling?
would say that most of us don't appreciate that reality.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And that's not also to discredit the fact that I know times are tough at the moment. Business is hard. Life is quite tough in general. So there is a lot of hustle going on just to actually exist, let alone deal with these problems. And that's part of the challenge that we're in at the moment. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, other than to say that there's another concept called planetary boundaries. They're the things that we need to basically keep in check and stay in balance for us to not just survive, but thrive. So of these 9 elements identified, we've got about 5 of them that we've exceeded. So that's another way of just kind of looking at this. The aim of today is not just to freak you out. There are things you can do, and there are ways it's important that we remain optimistic and take our charge of our own part that we can play in this. But there are some quite significant things and challenges going on. So why is this important? Can I get maybe from 1 or 2 people a couple of reasons? So why is sustainability important? Why do you think we need to do something about it?
No resources, no more life.
Sorry, something about life.
No more resources, no more life.
No more resources, no more life. Is that what your t-shirt says?
It will be by the end of the day.
Nice, I like it.
And it's a chain, so one link breaks and the whole chain falls apart, basically.
Yeah, I really like that actually. And the picture almost has a chain on it. Yeah, and everything's connected, right?
Yes.
Has anyone else got something on the tip of their tongue they're wanting to share?
Well, it's important for us. So our museum, we look after tauka and things for future generations. So if we're not doing that for our environment outside the museum, there's no point in us doing what we're doing.
Nice, I like it. And that just right there, there's different reasons for different people. And I always invite people to identify what your key reason and driver is, and let that be your driving force. Because some reasons will resonate more than others. Here's again some more, no, not just theoretical, but some, I guess, ballooning out some of those drivers. Obviously, with the significance of the challenge and size of it, it is a risk that we need to reduce and manage. But I'm not always a fan of thinking of things in terms of risks. I like to be more optimistic. So I see sustainability, the challenge of it, as a huge opportunity and a reason to innovate, not just incrementally, but in a disruptive way as well. We've got to obviously do things differently, better, and that's a great gift, really. It generates value that's partly linked with rising consumer demand. I've got a few stats coming up that show the real shift in people wanting this, and obviously you can then grow your business, generate more revenue, potentially premiumize products as a result of going on this journey. And that's kind of linked with improved brand and reputation, but we've definitely gone past the days of just being able to, I guess, linked with the t-shirt comment before, just slap a slogan on a t-shirt and be seen as doing the right thing. Brand and reputation is really about having backbone and integrity in your business, and consumers are not silly anymore, never were, but increasingly discerning around their choices and the information that they seek and make decisions with. Optimization, efficiency, yeah, when you're making these changes, when you're becoming more resource efficient, essentially, you're definitely optimizing your business. And last couple, but definitely not least, I mean, in a tight labor market with skills shortages, employee attraction is a huge reason for doing this as well. We ran an All Things Carbon webinar series last year. Again, carbon's a more technical subject area. In the measure session where someone asked about the cost value equation for measuring your emissions, and the CEO of a consultancy, rather than answering in sort of carbon or technical terms, the very first answer she gave was that because we need to do this to attract good people. So that was quite telling. And finally, and leading into the next section, last but not least, there's a huge amount of global and national agreements and legislation that's driving this. And increasingly, you'll see that if you're not doing it for any other reason, that will be kind of the icing on the cake reason to actually have to act in this space, because it will no longer or decreasingly become an option or a choice, particularly if you're in the supply chain of larger businesses or even local councils, or if you want to grow your business by being in those larger supply chains. So a few things globally. Has anyone heard of Sustainable Development Goals? Not hearing yes, I will go on to those in a sec. What about Paris Agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. There's basically a number of things that have been happening, and you can see this timeline literally starts at 2015. So huge amount has happened in not a whole lot of time, and a lot of this is the kind of the backbone of a significant action in this space. So I'm just going to touch on the first two. Sustainable Development Goals. They are 17 goals that were created as a result of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. All UN member states have signed up to them. And these 17 goals, I'm not going to play this video, I think I'll just go to the next slide, are the goals that have been identified as what will deliver sustainable development for us globally. And what I like about them is they're nice and simple. You know, if I asked you guys to all give your 2 cents worth on what each of these meant, you probably wouldn't land too far apart from each other. Obviously, they're rooted in a bit more complexity than that, but as taglines or as concepts, they're easy to grasp, and then they're therefore easy to align, you know, national, business, local, even individual actions too. So you'll find businesses are using the Sustainable Development Goals. So just to say, when I said UN member states are signed up to this, New Zealand, you know, is signed up to these, and you'll see businesses picking which goals that they most think that they can mobilize around. So if I just get a few of you to share in a second, one thing that you can do and take away as an action point or a bit of homework is to go, of these 17, which goals do I think, or do we think in our business or our organization we can most impact on and make most difference in, and then pick, you know, however many you want. I definitely don't recommend picking all 17. Pick a few that align most to what you do, and then you can start to generate some actions around those, and they can direct you into how you can best make a difference. So I can show you these on here. You're welcome to kind of Google them on your phone, but perhaps you might have already seen one that you instantly went, yep, that's a big one that we can make a difference on. Has anyone seen one that they want to comment on?
Quality education for us would be a good one.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
For us, quality education will be a good one to pick.
Yeah, quality education. That's a nice one. Has anyone spotted one that you think pretty much everyone in this virtual room would get behind or would be applicable to?
What? Quality.
Yeah. It's kind of a trick question, right? Because they probably are all applicable. Where I was going with that, and I'm biased because my favorite goal is number 17. But just to emphasize that this challenge is significant, you'd be silly to go it alone. And so collaborating, partnering, working with others to achieve the goals, whether it's your own staff, whether it's other businesses in the community, is a key way forward. That was just a taster of that, but again, I can send you a couple of thoughts and a link to these so you can think about them further. They're a really easy way to get to think about this, connect with a bigger picture, and get people on board, and also showcase, you know, stick a couple of these on your wall, say that's what you're focused on, and again, it's an easy way to engage people. So and I did mention the Paris Agreement as well. I think I will introduce that in this measuring emissions, the introduction to part 2, just so that as we're going into the carbon space, we cover that, just so that we can crack on with this, and importantly, hear from you what your challenges are. So from a New Zealand perspective, in a broad sense, to start with, who's heard of Te Ao Māori? Yeah, so that's the Māori worldview. It's basically acknowledging that everything is connected, we're all one, and that we have not just a today, but a tomorrow intergenerational duty to protect land, water, people, relationships, and more. I don't want to sound like I'm probably not doing it the greatest service saying it so quickly, but Te Ao Māori very much embodies and embraces sustainability, and it's kind of the thing that we're all trying to navigate towards, really. And from a New Zealand perspective, it's important and resonant in this journey. Going into, and as you can tell, this is a bit of a kind of highlights reel of what and why of sustainability. As I said, it's not always the sexiest thing, regulations, but very important and being driven from a global agenda, whether it's the Sustainable Development Goals or the Paris Agreement, as I said, which we'll go into next session. You can see lots of different legislation from the one in the quiz, the Zero Carbon Act, Net Zero by 2050, things like climate-related disclosures. That might sound big and hairy and scary, and yes, you might know of this and know it applies to NZX-listed companies, but there are requirements in that extend into supply chains where businesses will increasingly be asking questions of even their smallest supplier businesses, and that's where you'll get hooked into that whole regime, or that you'll get hooked into that part of the regime and be connected to what is currently zeroed in on big business. Government's already out consulting on the emissions reduction plan at the moment. We had a webinar on that this morning if you want to hear the pared back version that's for SMEs that we facilitated with the Climate Commission, and you can also see a lot of action in adaptation. So there's recognition we need to not just reduce our emissions but adapt, I think that's a space that hasn't had so much action so far, which is why the acronym of NAP I think is relevant, because it kind of is like we've been napping on adaptation up till more recently. I don't want to dwell on these. They're all on the slide. You're welcome to reach out and ask questions, but safe to say lots happening globally. New Zealand is mobilising on many fronts, and that's cascading into affecting businesses large and small. Plus, at the moment, our emissions still have risen, so there is still quite a lot of work to do. Sorry about that. Oh, the circle, yes, it's for the recent one. Apologies about that. So what do you think New Zealanders care about? I think it's important to note this one. So I've got these last three. So 1, 2, 3 top 10 concerns. The cost of living's been a key one across those last 3 years. So before it even became a really, really predominant issue in the struggles of sort of this year and part of last year, it was around probably 2 years prior as the number one issue. And you can see things like plastic waste appearing in these top 10. You can see mental health and well-being as well as a key one. And where the circle comes in is this last one. So sorry, it's funny on the slide, but the important thing that's changed in this last round is that extreme weather events are featuring in the top 10 for the first time, and that's as a result of the significant weather events that have occurred over the last year, not just in the Auckland area but around the country, from top to bottom really. Concern around climate change is increasing, and I think New Zealanders are acknowledging that it's a climate is impacting us here and now. And people's commitment to living a sustainable lifestyle has more than doubled over the last 10 years. Now, easy to ask me, what does commitment mean? What does living a sustainable lifestyle mean? How do they do the survey? Who do they ask? All great questions, all ones have been asked before, which is why I'm front loading them. I can easily hide behind the fact that I did not conduct the survey. So there's an element of no idea. But what I want to highlight is that 43% is a significant stat, and it's showing a shift and a weighting given to prioritizing sustainability in choices and in life decisions. Your homework, takeaway, action, consideration is to think about what actually living a sustainable lifestyle looks like to you based on what you care about, how you want to live, and acknowledging that, we live in a resource constrained world, that there are challenges around, and we all have a role to play in helping impact on that. Look forward to hearing all the different manifestations of that. As I said, businesses have been running to stand still, I think was a quote someone said recently. We know it's hard out there. There's still a lot of prioritization and focus and understanding that there's a role for business to play in this space. But yes, not easy either. And there's a need to support businesses with solutions because many know they have to do something but don't know how, which is partly why we came to do this series. And you'll see this map shows that there are the greens, the eco-actives are kind of spread around the country, but there's quite a significant proportion of them in your area in Dunedin, which I guess reinforces that people are activated and care about whatever you want to interpret as eco in your region as well. So you can tell we've gone global, national, we're getting to Dunedin. So it's nearly your turn to talk, you'll be pleased to know, and doing not too badly with time, I think, if I may say so myself. So from a regional level, most of you will be familiar with this. Just want to check this box that shows me your faces. I don't know if that's over the slide that you see or it's only what I see. There's a number of local commitments. You've got the Dunedin City Council that's committed to be net zero carbon by 2030, Queenstown Lakes, same as well. And so those significant commitments are also driving local action and mobilisation. So I wanted to move to a discussion on what you're seeing happening locally. I will just give you a couple of examples of how this is happening, just because we've talked about all these big concepts and a lot of, I wouldn't say kind of waffle, but I just want to land them in how this is conceived of in a couple of examples, and then we'll talk. Sound okay? So who doesn't know that FIFA is coming to the hood? Don't answer that. It would be a dangerous no. So you can actually see that FIFA is really considering sustainability strongly across the board in multiple areas. I'll zero in on a couple of these in parts 2 and 3 to show you how sustainability is kind of woven through and brought to life for FIFA, but I just wanted to highlight that in all aspects of sustainability, not just climate, which gets a lot of attention, but human rights, accessibility, safeguarding, like focusing on children, is a huge amount of consideration that's been given to all these things. And again, that's the trailer for more on that later. Love Queenstown, a not-for-profit generating local impact. So there, it's a giving platform supporting local projects from climate to conservation to biodiversity in that Queenstown area. And you'll know that there's an equivalent Love Wanaka as well. And another example that's been profiled kind of recently through the local region is from a hospitality perspective. If you want to take the tourism lens, as Sherwood, and you can hear more about what they're doing. And we will be looking at bringing either some of these or other kind of case studies to life as we go, so that you get that tangible, practical version of sustainability. Okay, as promised, and I'm sensing a sigh of relief. The slide bit's done, but I want to hear from you of what is happening locally. What are your key challenges? So what I want you to do is, actually, I need to grab this and put in the chat. So I've got a mural board. It's okay if you have no idea what that is or what I meant. What I want you to do is click on this link, if I can get it to you. Where have you gone? I'll just stop sharing for a second. I'm going to send it in the chat box. So I want you to click on the link and meet me at the mural board. Has everyone received that?
Yeah.
It has. So you just literally click on it.
Where have I gone to? I don't know if it goes
It's in the
to.
chat box.
Right.
And I am going to take us there. Have you guys made it in?
No, it's asking us to create an account.
Oh, okay. We'll give it a go. If we have any challenge, we can come up with a plan B. That's what the alphabet is for. At least if you're in a room, you can just get one person. Like there's just obviously the one computer that has to make it in. You can collaborate between yourselves. There we go. I can see I have company. So whoever, whenever you arrive, if you meet in where I am in the brainstorm section, you can just start to, if you literally click on these sticky notes, you can see I've just clicked on one and I'm just going to do a smiley face in a cheesy way. It's probably not so visible yet. And the key question is, what are your challenges and needs for addressing sustainability? So what we're going to do is do a brainstorm, and then if we can get some theming of them, we will cluster them, maybe even prioritize what's most important to us. I'm going to make this a bit bigger so we can actually read this.
We can't get in there. We'll just have to talk it out.
Okay, cool. Would you like to, do you want to write a few things in the chat box, and I can just back and forward and chuck a few on the post-its so that you've got a way of contributing. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Okay, so just chat box away, and I'll keep, I'll act as a shuttle.
I'm just including a few in the chat space. Learning where to start. It's kind of one thing that I find that people have a problem, and also perhaps developing cost-effective alternatives to current ways of doing things.
Nice. Those people who said they couldn't get in, are you guys writing stuff in the chat? Just checking.
Not yet. Can you go over what we're writing? Sorry, we were frantically distracted.
No, that's okay. So just in the chat box, the key question we're working through, and that's what we're all sticky noting on, is what are your challenges and needs for addressing sustainability? So that's a key part of today, is wanting to understand what you need so that we can weave that into part 2 and 3 and ensure that we can help you tackle some of those things.
Perfect. Thank you.
So yeah, if you just pop them in the chat, I will courier them across to the board. And feel free, if anyone else hasn't either made it in or would prefer that as an alternative, that's fine.
So the Otago Museum has put down funding. Is that funding to implement initiatives, or things cost What would that be?
Yeah, it's funding for everything. Everything we do, funding's an issue, and so it's hard for us to do our baseline things. And sometimes sustainability can be seen as an add-on to baseline things, well, the baseline thing. And so funding is a real challenge for us to get some of the bigger programs up.
An incredibly valid point, and I think something that we all face in all of our different businesses is how to make sustainability affordable.
Mm.
Treaty of Waitangi, Leon. Do you mind? How does the treaty impact you?
I'm with the Albatross Centre, and we operate on a piece of land that is still yet to be returned and fully settled. So until that happens, there is essentially zero movement in regards to what we can implement on a larger scale. Like, sure, we have the typical procedures of recycling everything that we can, reduce plastic use as much as we can, being conscious of our travel requirements because we're at the end of the peninsula. But when it comes to the bigger ideas, then we can't really move forward until the land or the treaty has been settled between the Crown and the local folks who have heritage links to the area. Because everything is just on hold until that happens. So that's our biggest challenge there, to me at least, in the meantime.
Would you say that that impact, just the lack of uncertainty, is an issue with being sustainable?
I think everyone involved in the area has a high value placed on the idea of sustainability. But at the moment, given that, like for instance, one of the things we can't do is disrupt the land, as in, we can't really dig or build or do anything like that because it's going to impact the land. So without being able to do that, it limits our ability to, say, for example, install a EV charge station, or even set a bike rack into the ground to help people who like to bike along the peninsula, right? So yeah, it's a little bit difficult at times, but there are other ways that we can work towards being sustainable. An example of that would be providing a coach to actually ferry all of our staff in and out on a daily basis, as opposed to us all coming out in our own vehicles, right? I mean, it's not a huge thing, but it is a way to move in the direction.
Thank you very much, Leon. Deborah, I see that you put working in tourism business, we are dependent on international visitors to survive. That depends on the use of air, sea, transport, which are all not very sustainable. Are you seeing any movement towards slow tourism rather than people starting at the top of the country, rushing in and out and moving on, or is that developing? Or I don't know, maybe Deborah, you can't hear me.
Hey, loving all these through. Thank
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, it's a hard year to measure anything. Obviously, after 2 years of borders closed, we've just seen such a surge in international visitors again. Maybe with domestic visitors, perhaps, but it has been hard to measure, whether they're taking longer to explore the Lower South Island, but no.
Is there anything that you would help you? Because I mean, I think the international travel is an unfortunate reality. Is there anything that you've come across that would help your sustainability, or the sustainability of those visitors?
I think we're too small a business to have an impact on that by ourselves, but nationally, I think that probably is going to happen, and it might not be environmental sustainability, but it might be financial with the cost of airfares and things. I think maybe people will be planning on making one trip and longer than lots of little short jaunts. But you know, I don't have anything really to back that up. It's anecdotal. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's very insightful. Louise, I see that you put balancing sustainability against service expectations. I think we're all experiencing that with the labor supply shortages. What are you experiencing in the sustainability space, and how to? Do you mind if I ask?
Sorry, didn't realise I was mute. Just really looking at it more from where you can see solutions for sustainability and travel, but the visitor expectations that they'll be able to do a lot of these things themselves. We're actually going forward, the better solution, and it's probably our ability to influence people and sell the options of perhaps not driving their own cars down to the Tairao Head out onto the peninsula, but actually joining in a tour and going with groups. Yeah, it's really selling that sustainable story where people expect to be able to do things themselves. It kind of does touch on and aligns with what Leon's been saying as well.
And I was wondering that as well, and similarly with what Deborah was saying, I think back to Lauren's favorite number 17, it's that collaboration and working with people.
Yes.
And particularly in a community like Dunedin, where we're across the tourism sector, including accommodation, hospitality, the event sector, the active tourism market, that there is that, if there can be a way to work with one another. That's a really interesting and valid point about the independent free travelers that have traditionally been on our roads, and that perhaps how do we move them away or encourage them to park their car and share their experience with someone else.
And that's what I think we need to actually try to move towards, where we've got the availability of a tour. They're going to get a better experience anyway, and that's what we've got to start really selling. But once they get to a location, that then they actually do join a guided tour that actually cuts down their carbon footprint in our region. And we're going to have to actually sell that it's better value for them and things like that, and it is, but it's just really changing that mindset of those FIT travellers.
Thank you. Lauren, on the Miro board, are you seeing any? There's, I'm sure, a lot of great questions. Are any popping out?
I think the themes I'm kind of getting at the moment, I mean, is obviously some of the first comments, not surprisingly, are around kind of dollars, affordability, funding. We've got some key themes around change, like implementing change, balancing priorities with core needs, and also the affordability of those, how to work with others and collaborate and partner with others, acknowledging that individual businesses will be pretty hard. It'll be pushing uphill basically to try and change things by yourselves, but what's the collective opportunity? How do you come together? There's some around, kind of like that, those stats I shared around knowing where to start, who can help, what's the right solution, those ones as well. And then some of what you're saying is really hinged on, so the whole one big trip, or slower tourism, or cost of travel, or how to get people to move together. I think ultimately comes down to what is the model of tourism, or what kind of tourism do we see for the future, and how do we actually create that, or how do we influence that, and who do we need to do it with? I think is a key thing that links with that. Does anyone feel like there was a big thing that you, or a theme that you wrote that hasn't come through with that in a summary?
I really like Suzanne's. Would like to see more storytelling and sharing by our industry. about what is happening, pros and cons. I think it's that sort of, it goes back to collaboration and learning from one another and going, okay, that industry is doing that, or that accommodation provider has created this solution. And perhaps it's not a viewing others in the sector as competitors, but as fellow collaborators that we can work with and develop some good solutions, I think. Thanks for putting that up, Suzanne. Is anyone else actually, has anyone typed anything that they would like to discuss or share that we haven't touched? I see labor shortages. Is everyone who is not experiencing, no, maybe I won't say that, who I was going to say who is not experiencing labor shortages, but I assume in one shape, form, or another, we all are. I don't know if there's a solution to that one, but we will keep on trying. Well, today we've spent about.
What are the core parts of the problem, and is there any common ground that can be addressed as a whole, as opposed to everyone battling at battle stations all by themselves? So yeah, hold on. I'm just gonna put one more. There's a lot. That was about 10 minutes of brainstorming. You're all warmed up and ready to go. Sorry, I'm just putting this one more in. I feel like my multitasking is doing pretty good today so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm happy to share that back with you guys. Can we, conscious we're getting closer to our time, but what I want you to do is I am just going to give you a sec to, actually we've only got a couple of people in. I was going to let you vote. I think it'll be a bit hard to do with everyone not all in here. If you take the themes and therefore the things clustered around them, so the dollars one with those aspects around that I talked, the how to drive change, the what is the future of tourism, the collaboration, or the focus starting solutions cluster, assuming that all those bundles around each of those are all part of them. Do you want to write in the chat box maybe your number one, number two priority? So you can either do it in color coding, just go blue, orange, green, purple, pink. Again, that's a summary of all the things around them. Or you can literally write one of the code words that those colors represent. Does that make sense? So just in the chat box, voting what you think is, I guess, your most pressing issue or the most important to address from those summary colors. The blue, which is around the kind of finances and affordability. Orange, about how do we envisage the future. Green's a lot around how to create change. Purple's how to come together, collaborate, share stories. And I think we'll call it pink, is around, focus, starting, and solutions. Is that a clear question? You're just wanting a sense of where your priorities are. Nice. Gonna make this big. Oh, thank you. Conscious you've got to go. We're nearly there. We'll just hear from a few more people, or perhaps you can keep writing yourselves. +1 on pink. So we've got some pink lovers in the crowd. We've got someone who's a fan of the rainbow. Thanks, Neville. So it kind of does sound like a bit of everything, really. But I'll take your feedback from the chat box and summarize it, and as well as the mural board, so that you've seen that you've been heard, and we'll weave that into the future sessions. I'm just going to pop out of this and bring us back to our slides, if I may. So 2 things just to talk about: what's next, how to stay in touch, and also invite you to, in the next period, think about what you could do as the next step. It doesn't have to be one big grand initiative. It could be one tiny thing in the the next period before we meet together, feel free to share it to us or to others in this group as a symbol of commitment and creating a bit of accountability. What's happening next is, as you may or may not know, part 2. So this first session was really about what, why, but understanding what your challenges are, what you need. One of the challenges you've mentioned is finances, affordability, kind of collaboration and focus starting solutions. So one solution and one starting point in this space is to measure your carbon. Carbon follows a dollar as well. So often once you know what that is, you can look at how to save money and reduce your costs, which is addressing that affordability piece. And also, it's not always, it's like doing your maths homework, depending on, I don't know, I wasn't the greatest fan. Not so fun to do by yourself. So when you come together in a group, we can make some progress together. I'll send out some a little bit of pre-work. I'm conscious you're all time poor, but we're wanting to try and measure some of our emissions live in person, so that if you are able to bring some invoices, receipts that I list out with you to be able to have that information to work with, that would be great. That's the aim and the wish. I know reality might get in the way, but just sharing that now so you know what's coming. And the second session is on reducing waste and circularity. So another key area of action, giving you some tips on what you can do to help on that. What time on the 5th, I believe? All these are the same time, Greg. I'll get the others to confirm that. And we will we'll be in touch before then. Now, speaking of being in touch, my final slide is just wanting to say a big thank you to everyone. We're always, speaking for John as well, we always are wanting to know what your needs are. So don't be a stranger. Feel free to keep in touch with myself, John, and I can also, following this, share Enterprise Dunedin contact in case you're wanting to share with them. Our Business New Zealand Network website has various sustainability resources, previously recorded webinars, tools, and where to start kind of resources. And you're more than welcome to email me on the email on screen as well. So that's it from me for today, but looking forward to seeing you in person and getting into some action with measuring emissions together. I'll do my best to keep it entertaining and fun while helping address what is a serious topic. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we close?
Oh, just to from me, Suzanne, just to say thanks, Lauren and John, for coordinating. I think there were one or two that weren't able to link in, but we'll do some follow up with those people, and look forward to you sharing the slides. And I think we'll from there we'll be able to share the recorded link. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
cool.
So if anyone wasn't able to make today, if you know of other businesses you're connected with them, or you want to steer them into this direction, they're welcome to join part 2 and 3 from there. So feel free to put them onto this, and they can join in the next session.
Awesome. Thanks,
one,
team.
one final word. I wanted to say thank you for everyone for taking the time out of your incredibly busy day. Appreciate that you all have a lot going on. To Enterprise Dunedin, Louise, Penny, and Suzanne, thank you so very much for the opportunity to be able to present this. And Lauren, fantastic job, and really appreciate your contribution. And look forward to meeting you all in person on the 5th of July. And just to confirm, that time was 11 to 12:30 on both the 5th and the 12th of July. And we'll get back in touch with you about it as far as the location. Also, certainly encourage sharing this information to anyone else. They are a free event series, and we hope that the more the merrier, because we'll be able to impact and create change through continuing to collaborate. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Thanks, ladies at Enterprise Dunedin. All right, everyone, I will wrap it up. Ka kite anō, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, have a great day.
See ya.
Oh,